Hello guys, glad to have you on board again. Today we'll start covering up the Bitcoin, and first we're having a look at the daily chart time frame. Not that big of a dangerous deal in here, but still something that we need to have a close look at for a simple reason. I'm going to give you the technicals I've been watching for today's candle close, which will be interesting somehow, because yesterday we've been making higher shadow candle, a lower shadow candle as well, so tiny body, yet closing below the previous day low, so we must not do the same today. We can't close below yesterday's low, but we need to make a lower shadow candle, because we've made a upper shadow candle. We need to have a lower shadow on the day right after to consider this as being a neutralization, some kind of ranging structure before getting into some more upside. The other option will be a big nice bearish reactivation candle, and if for any reasons we were about to close below that low, that wouldn't be a good sign. That would actually be a bad sign of bearish trend reactivation, and at that point I'd be ready to trigger some stop losses, take my gains, and just walk away from the Bitcoin for quite some time, waiting to have further informations. But I afford the price to go there. I can afford that, but I don't want it to go in a single candle closing below that low. Today must be a lower shadow candle, or at least that will be a good sign. Worst case scenario, as I said, will be having a close down there. So this is what we'll have a look at. Now if we go to the 2-hour chart time frames, what we have is pretty bullish. We've got the bullish in here, momentum set bullish pattern down there, but it wasn't enough. We hadn't retraced 2 times. We now haven't done it. We can clearly see 2 bearish impulses. We're oversold, and we're having a bullish hidden divergence right here as the previous low will lower on momentum and higher on price. So as long as we remain above that support, I think things are good. This is where the lower shadow candle on the daily chart is. So as long as we remain above that price, things are okay, and we should probably have some kind of bullish reactivation at some point. We've reached out to the bullish target of the bullish cycle, which means in here it's either we get some bullish reactivation and confirmation, or we break it down and we could be in some kind of context like there. But as you can see in here, we had the target there back then, and we just flushed it out, not even tested it like it was nothing. Now we've been testing it. We have a lower shadow candle, so it's either we normalize price in here, and then we go to some upside to validate the bullish posture, or a second option, we clearly break it down as we done the previous time, and the risk is to have the exact same result, which could be a falling apart market in which I really will trigger validation and take my gains. As I said, if we manage to candle close below there today, I'm out. Pure and simply, I'll be out, and I have a stop loss right here below the previous week's low. I don't want to see the market breaking that down. If it is, then I'm out. So this is where my stop loss is. If we ever get there, I'm no longer a buyer. We now have bullish reactivation signals. The market should be bullish. If it go bearish, it means that we have not enough buyers on the support area, which means high risk of breaking it down. And in that case, as I said, the buying entry is, by definition, counter-trendy, as the weekly chart remains under bearish pressure. And if that's the case, if we made a weekly bearish engulfing, I don't want to be a buyer anymore. That's just it. We have everything we need to break up the previous week's high. If we break the previous week's low and manage to hold candle closes below that price, I definitely will trigger stop losses. Needs to be candle closes, okay? If we just go there and making a few ticks below the previous week's low, I'm not going to trigger just for this. I want the market to handle closes down there. If the market is managing to do it, then of course I'm out. Probably be out at 0 value, actually. Not a big of a deal in terms of losses. Well, yes, it will be a tiny loss, because the previous entry was made back then in here. So we'll see. It probably is going to be a tiny loss if it is stop triggering down there. But I still forecast that price to do just well. It's hard to tell. I mean, the current pricings are not easy to forecast, and as long as we haven't broke the previous week's high, it's not necessarily going to be granted access to higher valuations. But we can still work it out for a couple days in here before extracting to the upside. And as you can see, we have absolutely no resistance in here, which means anytime we've been breaking this up, we've got no resistance. It means we'll go all the way up to the next resistance in a single straight line. Probably in a single straight line, which means this is normal that we're accumulating in here some kind of contracting in here to get the release eventually afterwards, but could very well be a bearish release as well. But as you can see, we're ranging to the upside after building a bullish reversal structure. So it's bullish burst, ranging, generally we make another bullish burst afterwards. It's probabilities, not 100% chances, which means we can still have 30 to 40% chances to go to the downside anyway. Goes the same for Ethereum, IOTA, and any other cryptocurrencies. Everyone is just trying to figure out what the hell is doing the Bitcoin and the entire crypto market. Are we holding that support or not? Is the big question everyone is trying to get the answer out of. So we'll see about that. I think it's pretty much too early to consider making any reliable trading decision nearby. So wait and see approach in here is the best option. I'm not reinforcing regarding the risks, even though I should do. This is technically a buying entry signal, just need to have a bullish momentum confirmation, which should come, I think, in a few hours. If you have a bullish momentum confirmation, it's hesitating somehow to get there. If we do have this at the candle close, I think that will be a good sign. If this close is positive, could be a good sign to eventually buy. For those who are out and want to buy, that might be an opportunity with a very tight stop, because of course if you get there, the stop loss must be triggered. So it's a very speculative trade. Those who are already in position like me, I think waiting is definitely the best answer in here. Now looking at other markets, and these other markets haven't been really nice to me yesterday. Was pretty hell of a red day. I don't have much of those, but yesterday clearly was a red day for the account. I'm not going to hide from this. You know, I'm not the kind of guy who just talk about the gains and hide the losses, and I'm actually quite the opposite. I talk a lot more about my losses than I do about my gains. For simple reasons. When you take a loss, there might be a lesson you can learn. When you take a gain, just keep on going. Okay, it's simple as that. I mean, there's basically not a lot to learn out of a gain. There's opportunity to learn something out of a loss. So as I'm here to teach you guys how to become better traders, I think this is better to share about losses than sharing about gains. Of course, sharing gains is useful as well, because when things do great, that's good for the account. But yesterday wasn't that kind of day, and we'll have to talk about that. Simply because the portfolio was clearly orientated toward risk-off management, in which I expected the price to flow away from equity markets to get into safer areas like gold, metals, flowing out of USOIL, getting into yen, and the market has been choosing quite the opposite back then, and we'll see, and we'll have to review this because this is not, of course this was a bad day. Yesterday basically just the AUDNZD was there to save me out of a very bad day, but I took minus 4% on the account, got invalidated on many scenarios, and we're going to start with those. First, the EURJPY is invalidated. I would be really fucking ashamed if this was just a fucking trap, and that's a possibility. But as you can see, we've break the high, which means my previous scenario of an ABC correction is no longer possible because we've been breaking up the previous high. And at that point, I don't want to be a buyer anymore. I don't want to be a seller, aggressive seller anymore. I still have selling leverage, just to set things straight. I haven't been exiting the entire scenario in here, but I had to do it anyway, at least partial losses taking. So I've been taking 50% loss. And we'll talk about another possible scenario in here. So regarding the euro-yen, as we broke this high, as I said, this cannot be a bearish impulse, so we have to rethink things and find another option. So from what I can see, we clearly started something here, and we've got two waves to the downside, and now we have two waves to the upside. The option I have is clearly this, is what we call ABC. ABC is what we call the ending diagonal, and I strongly think that we're building that ending diagonal right here. It's just not the way I expected it to be. I thought we were making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not doing anything close to this. We're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means we're going to get to the same target, not just the way, not the way I expected them to go. So we've been there, we're under resistance. We'll see how today's candle close is handled. If it closes like that and tomorrow we got bearish engulfing pattern, I'll get back to the leverage I took out today. If for some reason we keep on going up, I think this is where the next resistance could take place, near the 132 euros per yen, and whenever we'll get there, I think I can take a pretty nice bearish entry back there, with very nice risk reward ratio. We'll be at nearly 85% retracement, which is pretty rare. The invalidation as well will be the previous high, and anywhere in that red area, any bearish signal is going to be taken as granted for a bearish entry. So right now I'm just basically patiently waiting to get something reliable to trade in here. It's too dangerous to get there as we broke the highs. Even if this is just a trap, I want to have a price confirmation right now to put the money back in. It's basically the yen. Yen is under pressure. The future market is not open right now, but we clearly, as we broke the euro yen, I bet the yen is already there. So we'll see about that. The yen can go there, or eventually a little bit lower to close that gap. But anyway, afterwards, I think it's still bullish anyway. So we'll see about that. Right now it's too dangerous to remain heavily aggressively leveraged on the euro yen. I was leveraged, which means I have to get out at some point right now because of this. I was too aggressive and the market proven me wrong. The GBPUSD isn't good either because of that shitty news that came out yesterday, and as you can see, the market cannot recover out of that shit, and that's not a good for me. Yesterday really wasn't a good day. There's still those kind of a day of everything is going wrong and you just don't know why. I mean, the market went to risk on mode, full risk on, selling VIX, buying equities, getting out of bonds and things like that. And they even got wrong on the GBP for no reasons with Fred Johnson. No, it's not Fred. Sorry. It's Boris Johnson who just got the hell out. And that's pretty much a good news, actually. So that guy was just a clown out there. So now that he's out, I mean, the market should take it granted, should take it for a good sign. Is not. It's taking this as a risky asset, and GBP is falling apart and erasing all the nice gains it's been making. So what we have right now is not good for me. Because what we are is probably facing another failure right here in the top of that fucking bearish trend channel, which means if we get there once again, I'll have to trigger another fucking set of stop losses. That's how it is. I mean, at some points, there is luck inside trading. It's like in poker. At some point, luck is part of trading, as bad luck is. And right now I'm in the bad luck session, which means most of my scenarios are going wrong for a reason I can't understand. That is not really normal. As you can see, gold and silver shouldn't be bearish as well, but they are. The GBP shouldn't fall apart. It is. The euro yen shouldn't break up resistance. It is. Just the AUDNZD is performing pretty well right now, and the stock market shouldn't be that crazy bullish on assets that are pretty so overvalued. I mean, making 3% gains on Tesla. Over what? Yes, it's a retracement so far, but what the hell are we doing buying this shit again? Shouldn't be the case. Anyway, so the market is acting pretty weird, but anyway, the market is right at any time, and the trader is always wrong when a loss has to be taken. So I take that loss, no problems. I just stand down for a bit. That's pretty much a good sign, actually, because I'm heading toward a week off next week. And if all my scenarios get invalidated somehow, it means I'll be 100% liquid in terms of asset management, which means the portfolio will basically be empty or just trading AUDNZD and a few couple currency pairs. and that will be much more convenient to me to enjoy some vacations, not having trades to manage. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, right now I'm still bearish on a couple equities indexes. I'm still short on the Euro stocks. I'm still short on FTSE and GPN. I've been taking gains on ENG. I'm still bullish on VIX, but at some point I might need to trigger some losses. I'm still bullish on yields, on German yields, so bearish on German bonds. And so far that scenario is about to trigger. We'll see about that. I'm bullish on gold, bullish on silver, and those two are not working pretty well. We're fucking back to resistances. I just don't really get that. How the hell can we be that bearish? I mean, even if the equities can go up, I mean, at some point the gold has to go up. We're in fucking support area and we have nothing to do bearish in here, but yet we're doing. And if you have a look at that damn daily chart, look at this upper shadow candle, higher shadow candle, and we're about to already make that bearish engulfing that will reactivate the bearish trend. So it's like the bears are not giving it anytime soon. They'll keep on pushing to the downside. They're not letting it go, even though it's like full risk on. It's all the money getting into equities and out of everything else, and that's pretty much dangerous. But anyway, you don't fight that. So I basically wait, and if the gold has to be triggered again it's not going to be losses at some point. I think I'm nearly on the entry price on the gold. But at some point I might need to invalidate that shit. Silver is probably going to be taken down as well, for the same reasons, even though I think silver has no chances to break down that support, and that's the reason why I've been getting in this one. So what we have today is absolutely abnormal once again, but that's not me. I'm not the guy who makes the market. If the market's just falling apart, I don't want to be fighting this. So unfortunately today I don't have many more scenarios to give you. I have one another I might be about to trigger pretty soon, which is where is the USOIL? Yes, there, USOIL. So USOIL, as we're getting here today, I think this one I'm about to trigger it bearish, and aggressive bearish. I'm going to take some leverage out there. So waiting to get there or there. So it's 75.5 or 76.5. Either way, if we get there, I'm going to take short entries upon signals. We already have sine waves, so I just wait for a momentum confirmation up here. Anytime I get a bearish signal, I'll get aggressively bearish. This is a weekly chart scenario in here, so whenever we get there, I think we're going to have to short that tiny bit of momentum, of volume we had back then. Simply, and at that point I think we will have terminated an ABC correction, and we'll have to make a new ABC structure, retracing generally 61% of the previous wave. So at that point that will be there, going approximately there in two waves, so that would be A, B, C to trigger in the next following weeks. So that's a weekly chart scenario heading probably toward bearish movements on the USOIL till end of 2019. So I'll see about that. For now, it's still speculative scenario. I wait for the price to get there, work it out, and eventually, whenever we get the trigger, I'll get in. So it's something that we'll have to talk about later on. Today, the major concern I have is about that damn gold and silver. I want to see those finding a bottom and getting back to resistances instead of getting towards supports again. We've been overselling on a damn weekly chart. I mean, at some point, those who've been selling gold might take some profits, and what I can see right now is that they're not, and worse than that, they're just selling more and more, which is abnormal. The market is taking excessive amount of risks, and this is not going to end pretty if we keep on doing that way. But don't fight it. Wait to have confirmed signals to get into leverage, which means I'm not leveraged on gold, not leveraged on silver. If it has to be invalidated, it will just be another speculative scenario down, but that's it. Losing speculative scenario is not that big of a deal. What I care about is winning leverage scenario when they're triggered. Okay, so that's not the case. Euro-yen was a leverage scenario that went invalidated, and that's not good. This one is costing me a lot. It's costing me 3% just by this scenario. And anyway, that's it. So you might hear from my tone today, it's been a bad day yesterday, but anyway, I basically right now I think waiting is my only option into most of those scenarios. And if there is something you have to learn out of this, is the way I react. I mean, I've been taking a loss, I just accept it, I don't fight it, I wait to have some opportunities back in the end. So it's just letting the bulls taking the crazy amount of risk they want to take, see how far they can push, and whenever I see failings or some weaknesses, I'll jump back in when my time will come. But I think right now is not the perfect timing to do it. So basically wait and see, and not doing anything is the best option so far I have. As someone who was assessing the risk will get back in the market and is obviously not. I mean, we have no reason to flush that risk. The trade war is actually fully on. There's no good news on the US economy. I mean, the NFP wasn't good, even though people were saying it's not a good NFP. And that's how it is. I mean, I don't understand what's at play right now, but understanding is not part of trading. Trading is just taking risks and see if they can reward. Apparently right now I've been taking risks that are not rewarding, so I need to stop those scenarios. Bye guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'll tell you anything new I could have in between. So from right now, all I have is the risk on mode from the equity market, and especially the US equity market. As just once again, the US are just the best performers out there. The Eurozone is not performing. The emerging market's not performing as well. China is not recovering that bad. So it's just always the same thing. Wall Street's not giving a damn thing, even though the rest of the world is pricing the risk. Wall Street isn't. And at some point, as I said, this is dangerous price distortion. When we do this, we introduce distortion into pricing. Equities are supposed to move all the way down, all the way up and down together, not some ups and some downs, and some never go down, some always go down. It's not that way that it's meant to be played, and at some point things will recorrelate. I mean, the distortions will have to unwind, and at some point it will be bad for US equities. It's just that it might not be the timing right now. So I'll patiently wait in my side, in my corner, waiting to see how the US equities work out this. And whenever I see, as I said, any signs of weaknesses or losing strength or whatever, I'll try shorting again. I'm not going to switch my side. I remain bearish on US equities, just not the timing. It's just right now is not the timing apparently. That's the sign the market is telling me. So I'll basically wait to have another shot to fire pretty soon. Goodbye guys, and see you tomorrow. Oh, sorry, I have to answer your questions first. So let's switch to weekly markets. Great. Still slow bullish movement, but like always I have to wait. Yes, being really patient on BTC is absolutely necessary. Yes, but that might be just the beginning. If what we have right now is what you call boringness, then expect that to be the normal and the standard in the next following month and years. I mean, after a crash, the market is going to recover and getting back to normal values. We'll still have some volatility on some very aggressive moves, but what we have in between is what we'll have after the crash terminated. So be aware that this is going to be the standard somehow in the future. Not forever, because we'll still have trends reactivating slowly, but expect that low volatility intraday levels to be the standard sooner or later. Okay? Anyway, bye guys, and see you tomorrow.